Hello YouTube, welcome back. I'm getting ready to get started on my next project. I was just recently driving around checking all the big box stores, see what they had out there for Halloween decorations, something I might be able to fit into my cemetery display. And Lowe's has a cemetery tree that has a animated crow at the top. Now I like the aspect of that animated crow, but I wasn't really a fan of the rest of the tree. One, the tree kind of looked a little on the cheesy side. Also, the tree has a face on there. And I really don't feel that the face really fits into my theme. So I'd have to cover that face. Obviously, if I cover the face, now I'm ruining the detail of the tree itself. So realistically, I'm buying this whole thing just for the crow at the top. So that kind of got me thinking: can I just make my own animated crow using that 1/8 inch baling wire that I've used for previous projects in the past? By making my own branch, taking one of these cheap, crows, and find a way to make it to where I can make the wings move, and then just add some audio to it to make it sound like a crow with the wings flapping, and then just find like an old dead tree that I can make a base for to stand up, and then attach everything to it. So now it's a little different than some of the stuff I made in the past. So hopefully I can make this work and make it work like I want to. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let's get started. All right, here's that 1/8 inch wire that I was talking about. I found this in the fencing section. It could probably be used for baling wire or fencing kind of wire. I like it because it's pretty strong. You can bend it, you can shape it a little bit. I can weld it. Okay, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to just map out from the edge of my vise to wherever my 3 foot mark is, so I can cut my main pieces at 4 feet. At 3 feet, I'm going to cut 4 of them at 3 feet. And I'll cut some other ones that will be my loops that'll slowly step down in size, and that's what the 4 main ones are going to be anchored to. So I'm going to start off by doing that. Then I'll get that piece up here, start cutting them all, and then go from there. This is just an easy way to do it instead of trying to hold the tape measure on this wire. So I just, I can just literally hold it right here and cut each piece. Okay, I got my first main set pieces cut. I cut 2 of these cut to 3 feet, and I cut 2 of them a little bit longer than that. The reason the other 2 are cut a little longer, those are going to be the top ones, and what that's going to be is the part that's going to hang out a little bit past the 3 foot mark. When I find the dead tree, and I get the tree propped up, I'm going to actually drill holes in the tree where these will slide into it. Now, obviously, I'll pump some caulking in there, and I'll be able to take those 2 pieces and push them into the tree, and that's what's going to hold my branch up. I also got these pieces cut. I'm going to round these out. I'll figure out what to round them out over: paint can, pipe, whatever I can find to round these out. Now, this particular project that the way I'm going to be doing it, there's going to be a lot of welding involved because I got to tack weld all this stuff together. I'm sure there's other ways to go about doing it, but I do a lot of stuff with metal, and I feel this is going to make it easier for me because I can get inside there, make my mechanism and all that kind of stuff, and then I can cover it after the fact. So, but let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I got the main branch made. You can see I kind of have a nice little kind of curve where it kind of comes up a little bit and then kind of curves like this. I didn't want a big beefy branch, that's why I kind of made it kind of small. But my crow is going to kind of sit in this area, so I got to figure out if I'm going to be able to get my motor mechanism here, or if I'm going to mount the motor down here and then maybe make like a teeter-totter seesaw kind of like linkage in order to make the wings do what I want them to do. Because I didn't want some big bulky looking branch on there. So I also added a 3rd rib on here, 1 for strength, so when it's in the tree I got a lot more so it doesn't flex so much here. 2, something that I can attach the crow to right here, versus having these ones that are way over here. So I added an extra rib to the top here. But the next step is to start working on the crow, figure out how I'm going to mount them. cutting them open, figure out how I'm going to do the wings, how I'm going to make them move up and down, and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to continue working on it. All right, kind of show you my plan of attack at the moment. It's kind of changed a little bit. The more I thought about my mechanism being inside here, the more I think I'm gonna have issues, because once I get it all inside here, I got the bird on here, and then I go ahead and I wrap everything. Unless I leave myself some way of an access panel where I can pull something off, if I'm having issues, I'll never be able to get back inside there to do any kind of repair work to it. So I decided that putting it inside here is probably gonna be my last resort. What I'm going to be doing is I cut the back of the bird off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another one of these motors. The wings ain't going to be heavy, so this should be more than enough. I shouldn't have an issue with it this time. This obviously isn't the same motor that I just used on the other prop that crapped out. This is another one I had. My plan is to use this piece of pipe on here, weld a T on here that goes like this, and I'll take these two pieces of wire. I left them extra long because I'll cut them down to whatever I need them to be after the fact. I will put little pivot points that allow these to essentially move like this on that T, and then the linkage will come from here and come to the bottom, and all it's going to do is gravity's obviously going to bring them back down, but obviously the motor will pull them up, and then it'll just go back down like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to build everything on the bench here first, and then get everything working, then I will put it inside the bird. And that'll also make it to where what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another piece of pipe and mount it to get the feet mounted to it, and I'll put a couple little ears, like little studs on here. So after everything's said and done, this is all done, covered, wrapped, the whole 9 yards, I'll be able to just take the bird, set it on there, screw it down, and then just run the wire across the top where you won't see it to my power supply. So, but this is going to be my first attempt. If this is a complete failure, then I'll go back to this way. All right, so here's where I'm at with the mechanism so far. You can see where I got the motor mounted in there. I got like just that normal continuous loop kind of cam kind of going here. My original idea was I was going to just use either some heavy duty fishing line or maybe even like a piece of cable or something like that, somehow attached to the end of those and run that down to here. But I was worried that if I didn't have some kind of guide to ensure that it didn't get snagged on the cam here and get bound up, that I was going to have issues with it. So I figured I'd have to go another route. So I thought of all kinds of different ways to make this work, and this really was pretty much kind of the simplest thing. I just took a nut that was big enough for the two to slide past each other, no problems. You can see I did do a little sanding on them just to help with the ease of them moving back and forth. It allows them to slide back and forth inside there, so I don't get no binding, no sticking or anything. You see where it just moves, nice and freely. But it has a nice, smooth, motion to it. The wings are going to come up nice and high. Now I can bend those wires to make the wings come up higher if I think they should come up higher and not go down so low. But the next step is going to be I'm going to go ahead and get it off there, glue it into the bird, see how well it still works while it's inside there, and then slowly start adding like the feathers and stuff like that to it, and continue to keep checking to make sure that everything is going to flow good. And if everything seems to work really well, then I will go ahead and finish up the mounting system so I can make it to where I can mount it up there, and then I will continue working on this right here, and I should be able to wrap this one up pretty quick. Okay, I got the mechanism down inside there. Looks like everything clears pretty good. Now, I made the wings definitely stick up higher than the body, but what I'll do is when I put feathers on here, I'm going to kind of help disguise it so this way you don't see where this is sticking up higher. And then this will be trimmed so I can put this back over top of it when it's all done. But so far it's in. I got bird flapping his wings so far. Okay, I made my bracket. You see what I did here? I just got a bolt that's going to come here. This will all be painted brown so you don't see it. Plus, I'll cut that excess off when I'm done. I just made a little lip in the front because what I'm going to do is after I fiberglass this, I'll make a little notch there where this can lock into it. Basically, I got the bird mounted up on the tree limb. His wings are going up and down. I cut the back piece, trimmed it to fit on there. So now I just got to do, the feathers, up here on either side. and then redo the tail feathers. But so far, it's actually working out pretty good. All right, now for some comic relief real fast. Does anybody else have this problem where you clean your whole workbench off? You don't have to get done with a project, and you're getting started on the next one. And I'm only working on a little teeny project right here. And it's like, where did all this come from? Like, when I went inside to get something to drink, did some gremlins come out here and just throw tools everywhere? I'm just curious, does anybody else have that problem? Let me know. All right, I got all the feathers done. I got to put back up on top of the branch here so you can see how it looks. Now you see, I put some tail feathers on. I got to do some touch up right here with some flat black paint, just so you don't see that. I was able to get the back cover back in place. You see, I have it just notched to go around the mechanism, but it goes all the way back up to the neck. So realistically, when you first look at it, it almost doesn't even look like I did anything. And then for the front half of the wings, to dress that up, I just used some landscape fabric. I just glued the landscape fabric, but zoom in. There you go. Across the front of the wings, just to kind of hide the edge of the feathers and the metal rod. But next step is going to be to just set this off to the side, let it run for a while. I just want to make sure I'm not going to have any issues. I'm going to go ahead and start working on the branch again. All right, it's the next day. I brought the tree out here. I got to let all that caulking dry. The reason I ended up doing the caulking over the expansion foam was because of the way the tree looks as an overall. I was able to kind of create more of like a line kind of thing using caulking instead of using expansion foam. But I have it sitting out here so this way the sun can get that stuff nice and dry. And then what my plan is once everything's fully dry, I'll be actually repainting the entire tree essentially and trying to re-age it again, so this way I can blend everything together, so this way it looks like it was originally part of the tree. And then hopefully we'll see how this looks. All right, so the caulking is all dry. I started trimming off the excess masking tape. I'm going to go ahead and get the branch off here because I want to get it to where when I go to set up in the display, I'll be reapplying it. But for now, I want to get it off because I feel I need to reinforce that base a little bit more. It rocks a little too much for my comfort because this thing is actually pretty heavy still because it is like a petrified piece of tree. So I just want to make sure that it's safe. So I'm going to pull that off so I can work on the tree, and then I'll put it back on, do the painting, aging, and then when I go to fully set it up, then I will re-glue it to the tree and actually make it permanent. Okay, so my plan here to kind of help reinforce this a little bit is I cut a bunch of gussets. I use cardboard so I can get the shape. But what this is going to do is this is going to go against here and right against the tree like this. And then obviously it'll be welded into place. And then I'm possibly thinking about taking, you know, one of these brackets, hammer it flat with my hammer so it'll actually match the shape, and maybe put that behind it first, like maybe have it on here first and then have this so I can put some screws in there. And what that's going to do is that's just going to make it to where these can't flex as much because the gusset's going to come back quite a ways. So, and then once I repaint the whole tree brown and then re-age it, these will I'll disguise these into it. Okay, so I got the gussets welded into place. All right, I figure before I do any painting, it'd probably be a good idea to make sure I can get the bird to sit back up there, because I had to do a little trimming now that I did the fiberglass on there. Obviously, I built it up from what it was when I originally made the bird sit up there. But see, I got it sitting up there, got the wings moving. The next step now is just going to be to paint that whole tree with that limb, make everything one uniform color, and then I will have to get some wire, some really small wire, maybe get like maybe some brown lamp wire or something like that, something that I can run down the tree that won't be so obvious. But we're just about done with it. All right, I think what I'm going to attempt to do before I actually, you know, put that on and repaint the whole tree and kind of lose that natural aging of it, I'm going to put it on, and I have a few different, you know, shades of browns and greens and, you know, things like that. And I'm going to see if I can somehow slightly blend it in so it's close. I mean, it doesn't have to be dead on perfect because, I mean, this is, you know, a nighttime event being a Halloween thing. So even if it's off by a little bit, you're never going to really notice that. So I'm going to attempt to do that first before I uh, paint the entire tree and have to like redo the whole thing. So let's see how this works out. All right, I'm done with that tree limb. I think it actually turned out pretty good. I think it actually blended in very well. I definitely had to take the paint and feather it from my branch to the tree. So this way I got rid of any hard lines. I don't want any distinct hard lines. So I kind of feathered the brown and the green over to it. You see where I added a bunch of black lines. Those are to simulate the lines in the tree. Some of them I actually kind of tied into the ones on the tree, so it kind of looks like it's meant to be there. And I did add a little excess green in that area just to really kind of hide that area. So I did is I added some green to some other spots of the tree, just to kind of make it look like it's meant to be like that, and not just in like one area. I also went ahead and ran the wires for the crow. What I did is I ran the wires inside the actual tree itself. So it's actually ran through here. It comes out down up in this area here. And you see where I kind of have it ran down in the tree. And then everywhere I could, I tried to keep it as tucked in as possible. And I brought it out at the very bottom here. I left myself plenty of slack. So this way I have a cord on there, and I was able to use a brown wire. So this way any areas where it's not, really tucked in, it kind of, you don't really notice it too well. I mean, you still see it in there if you're actually looking for it. But the next step is to put the crow on it, wire it up, do a couple other little small details that I want to do, and we will be seeing the finished product. Okay, I'm going to consider this one to be done. Like I said, I definitely have my doubts on that tree limb right there. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to feather it in, or if I was going to have to repaint and re-age the entire tree. But I think going with the decision to try to feather it in first was definitely a good decision, because overall I think it turned out pretty good as far as blending it in, adding the extra lines on there to try to see if I could tie it into the existing tree. You see I put a fake vine on there just to try to help hide the seam a little bit. I hung a little bit of Spanish moss on it. The Spanish moss also kind of helps hide that seam. It actually almost makes it look like that tree limb was part of the original tree right from the get-go. So I think it worked out really well. Overall, I think this one actually came out pretty good. I do like the idea that I put the mechanism inside the bird instead of inside the tree limb. The reason why is because it makes that bird more useful. So say I end up not using the tree next year for whatever reason, say we get a nasty storm, blows it over and breaks it or something of that nature, I can always take the bird and I can always mount it to something else. Like I can put it on top of one of my mausoleums, I can put it on a monument, I can actually attach it to a real tree, or anything like that, plug it in, and it makes the bird more useful. So I think putting the mechanism in the bird was definitely a much better decision than my original course of action that I was going to go with. But overall, I think this one came out pretty good. You have to leave me a comment, tell me what you think. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.